Hey guys, and welcome to Heart of the Matter. My name is Dipo Ayo Adeosi.
And I'm Adeolu Adefarasin, and we're here with Miss Eno Essien. And there's so much that I want to ask you because you're doing the most innovative things and the most unpredictable thing, because this is the first time I've heard about it in Nigeria, right? A company that is into vehicle tracking. And I can imagine that's how important it is and how necessary we need it in this country especially. But how did that even start for you?
I always wanted to be someone. I always wanted people to read about me because I grew up reading about people, being coming from a home where my father is the journalist. So I wanted people to read about me. I liked how I read about other people. I wanted to do something, but I didn't really know what it was that I wanted to do. So I went to visit a friend, and armed robbers came in there and stole. We're two friends who went to visit this friend, and they stole the other friend's car. It wasn't her car, it was her husband's friend's car, which she borrowed so we could all meet up there. So I thought, how do you spend so much money acquiring a car, and just like that somebody comes to take it away from you, you know? So I decided to connect the dots. I had heard about the GSM car alarm, you know, and did a lot of Google research. And it happened at the point where I was trying to relocate. I was trying to leave the country because my sister lives in the UK and I wanted to join her, you know. So that then gave me an idea that there was something I could do. I Googled, connected the dots, and that was how Retracker was born.
Wow. But, I mean, well, first of all, did they ever find that car? The car that...
No. There was just no way they were going to find it. There was no device, nothing in it.
First of all, like, just... Did you think about how dangerous it would be getting into that sort of, like, line of business? Also, I wonder... Let me just ask that first, because there's so many questions.
Right. No, at that point, I was 24, 25 then. And I mean, at that age, you're very daring. You're not really thinking about, if I was to start now, there are so many things I would consider. I probably won't even get into it. But at that age, no, I was thinking about the risk. I just liked it, and I saw there was a problem, and I really wanted to solve a problem.
So,
Sorry. Had you always been into tech, or is that something that just came?
No, I wanted to be a medical doctor. But I failed JAM. So I went in to study microbiology, and I just basically went through school, you know, so nothing techie, nothing techie, really.
But what if someone wanted to go into your line of business today? What kind of I guess what kind of major would they? What would they have to major in? What kind of course would they have to study in school?
Well, I won't say there should be a particular course you will study, because I mean there are doctors who are baking now, so you just go with the flow, whatever it is that you like and you want to do. You know, once there's an interest in it.
So there's some kind of training you have to do on some level.
Well, for me, I learned on the job.
On the job.
Before Retracker, I had never even worked. I finished from school. I didn't have work experience. So everything that I have done the last 12 years, I have learned on the job.
So your literal work experience is Retracker.
Yes, and I'm still learning.
So I want to just delve into that, really try and dig into how beyond having the idea, how you go about saying, I'm actually going to pursue this thing, and how do you even work out how you're going to start in this business? I mean, I know the story, what happened with your friend, but beyond that, what were the next steps for you?
Okay, I went on Google, and I was researching. I sent emails to quite a number of people. A particular man, an Indian, responded to me, and he said to me there was a company in Nigeria that was doing it, and he was coming to set up the company for another person. So we were in touch. He explained the technology. He explained that it was doable. So he would send me things. I would read about it. I bought one, put in my car as a den, tried to understand how it worked. It took me, say, like 3 months before I could figure out how it worked. And I remember my brother, I have a brother, I had put it in the car, so I'd ask him, drive out, let's see if it's working. He did that so many times, and he never complained.
Bless
you know,
him.
so I'm trying to do it, and I'm like, go out again, let's try this thing. He'll go out, I'll be like, oh, it didn't work, you know. Then one day, the day it worked, I was like over the moon, you know, and immediately I figured how it worked. I then started to put the business together. Now, the startup capital was really, really intense, because I didn't have, what people do is they work, they save money, and then they go into the business. I didn't have any of that. So I approached my father, who was like the person, you know, and he said to me, I needed a startup capital then of about 5 million, and he says, you've never even handled 50,000. How do I give you 5 million, you know? I was upset then, but you see, I am forever grateful that he did that, because he made me think. You know, I went back, decided to think, how do I can actually start small. So I came up with, I did complimentary cards, registered the business, did profiles and all of that with the help of my mom, and then I started to market it. I would send proposals to different companies. So one particular pharmaceutical company responded. I had been calling him, and every time he wouldn't hear me. So that day he just said to me, okay, just come to my office. And I was wearing shorts. So I went immediately, you know. And when I told him what it was I wanted to do, he said, you're late. Unfortunately, we've already shortlisted 3 people to come for the presentation. So I stayed there for at least an hour, just begging, please, sir, you know. Then he then writes me a letter and invites me then. So Monday at the presentation, I was the first person to go there, and I went with my car and my brother. I did a demo, and I was the only person who did that demo. And a week after, I got a letter that I was unanimously chosen. So that was the first job that I had. That was the first break that I had.
I think it's what I think is crazy is that important thing. You say, okay, I need a startup capital of 5 million. Went to your dad's like, no. Like, you need to learn how to handle this. And it's such a huge learning lesson for people that you can start small. That you are able to do something, and because people have a huge tendency to say, if I, like, there are all these reasons why I can't do it. And you learn to find that position of, I can with what I have. And so what was that for you? Because I want to understand the story behind learning to overcome. Like, what gave you that resilience to even be able to say, I can?
Well, what gave me? I don't know. I just wanted to do something. I wanted to do something. The hunger, the drive to do something. I used to, my mind is very powerful. I believe the human mind is powerful, but my mind is really, really powerful. So I would imagine things. I would imagine myself going out to do presentations, wearing suits. In an office. I didn't have any of that. You know, I just used to sit down and imagine the possibility of the business. I imagine my name. I used to imagine being on TV, and this was at 25, you know. So those were the things that pushed me to go. I hardly used to sleep then. I remember my mom will come into the room, and I'm just in front of the laptop trying to figure things out, trying to do it. It seemed like a big dream that was never going to come to pass, but I just pushed through. I just wanted to succeed at it.
You know what I love about this, and it's going to get into the next question I want to ask you, is that you mentioned that the first thing you did was actually hone in on the technology of what you wanted to sell. So it wasn't just the fact that you knew that you wanted to do something, you know, it was the fact that
I
you
prepared myself,
knew how to do it. So for example, I'm sure right now you can still do that. You can still, you know, deal with the actual technology of it and not just have to rely on the staff, although you have staff.
Yes.
But the thing is, this, talking about the business side of things, a lot of people in Nigeria, probably almost everybody needs this service. You know, if you have a car, I imagine you need this service. But not everybody may be able to afford it. What is your price point, and how? What is your target market as well, and how do you?
Everyone who owns a car needs a tracker, because you see someone who say, I'm driving a 2001 Toyota Corolla. Now, if they steal that car, is it going to affect you? It would affect you. So why not put a tracker in it? Anybody's car can be stolen. That's the truth. Anybody's car can be stolen. So everyone who has a car needs the tracker. Everyone who has a motorcycle, a tricycle, a truck, running car rental service, anyone who, I classify all those things as vehicles. So anybody who has a vehicle needs a tracker in it. And the trackers go for as low as 25,000. So I know that if you can spend thousands and millions, as the case may be, on the car itself, then yes, you need to put a tracker.
But as long as added to the package of buying the car.
Yes.
You said that it goes for as low as 25,000.
Yeah.
Obviously, that means that there's a range of them.
Yes.
Now, does that affect how far it tracks? And
No. They basically perform the same thing. It's just that the device in the motorcycle is a little different from the device in the vehicle. So the same device you put in a Volkswagen is the same device you put in a Mercedes.
You gave an example before we started about, you know, you've had a lot of occasions where cars have gone to the craziest locations so far from where they started off. How do you work with law enforcement, one in Nigeria and also where the car has been taken outside of countries, to make sure that you're able to recover stolen vehicles wherever it is that they've gone?
Okay, when a vehicle is stolen and we identify the location, we monitor it. We don't immediately shut it down. We monitor it. You know, then we involve the police, the special anti-robbery, and they're actually really very fantastic. Once we give them the location, they set out to the recovery. And then for vehicles that leave the Nigerian boundaries, we also work with the Interpol. The police here help us in the process.
So you're nationwide now. You operate nationwide.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
you are based in 4 different states within Nigeria. And I'm sure that what's your sort of like manpower? How many staff would you say?
Quite a number of them.
But so you've provided jobs for so many people.
Yes.
That's fantastic. But how did you how were you able to scale up? Because I'm also trying to get into business, you know, and I think I do as well on some level.
We're all trying.
We're all trying to get into business in one way or the other, and that's, I think, the question on our minds is, you know, we see the immediate sort of like effect that we can have, but we imagine being much bigger and expanding even from now. How were you able to scale up on that kind of thing? How do you deal with loyal staff, making sure that people are doing their jobs right, being in Lagos and having, you know, effective business running a different, you know.
I can write a book on loyal staff. You know, I started with just one person, the installer, and then do I see my brother because he was very helpful. So I just had one installer, and as the business grew, I then brought in more people. Also, along the line, I took a course because I had never worked. I went to do a course in Lagos Business School, and that helped me a great deal because I learned a lot of things.
What kind of course was it, sorry?
Owner Manager Program is the OMP.
Okay.
So now that I realized that in one of the courses, if you have clients, I would have jobs in Abuja. Say someone has 3 cars, I would have to turn it down because we can't travel for 3 cars. Is when we have maybe 5 cars and above, then I'll say, okay, we'll go for it. So I learned in LBS, where is the market? You have business there, then go for it. So that was what pushed me into opening the first branch, which was in Abuja. And it was scary, but everything just worked out. Because I remember calling someone who has passed away now. I remember calling him and saying to him, I want to come to Abuja. And he's like, oh, okay, there's a new plaza opposite my office. And as we're talking, he's walking there to make inquiries. So everything just went accordingly. Favor.
You had a network and obviously God's favor
Yes,
as well.
yes. I won't undermine God's favor. When I was starting up, you know how you have staff numbers. For me, you know, 001, 002. For me, I took 002 because at that early age, I understood the place of God in my business. So everything that I'll do, I'll say, God, you're in charge. If I'm leaving, I'm like, everything is just in Him. So I acknowledged Him right at the top, you know, and somehow He just always works everything out.
We want to talk to a lot of the other points that you're going to talk about with your story in terms of the emergence of the business, growing the business, working with people. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. So make sure you stay with us and you return to continue to hear more of Miss Eno Essien's story.
I myself falling, like saying, bro, you're falling. Wow, you're falling. This guy, you are actually falling down, oh. This stuff that you see on TV is happening to you. God is real.
Who are you? Why are you black?
Welcome to the heart of the matter.
The whole world was looking for me. She called me, she's like, oh my God, Ines, it's God that brought you back. And I just dropped to the floor.
I'm going to dive right into the heart of the matter.
What are your thoughts on Canada?
My thoughts on Canada?
Yeah.
Real random.
I'm really so excited today.
Just a tad. Very passionate about leveling the playing field.
Listening is not the only aspect of communication.
I believe that the solution is from the bottom up. If you don't talk now, you talk later.
There's glory. There's glory.
So let's break it down.
You can advertise your businesses, brands, and events on the Heart of the Matter. For more information, please send an email to hotmpr@gmail.com. Welcome back to Heart of the Matter. We've been talking to Miss Eno Essien, and she's just been schooling us on literally doing it, I feel, I guess. Some of the most tremendous, innovative, like Adeolu said, things that we have heard. And for women, only women in the business, right? Amazing stuff. So we're going to hear more about the story.
One thing I want to mention is you said that, okay, there's the price of what it is. Now I want to understand whether it comes with, because of you have a sustained relationship with whoever it is, whoever your client is, whoever's got a tracker in their car. there's the initial payment of getting the tracker installed. Is there
And
anything
subscription?
continued?
Oh yes, there's
because of
an
course.
annual subscription.
Annual, okay.
Yes, annually. So if you make a payment now, from the next year, you pay renewal.
Yeah, because I also wanted to clear that, because obviously you have to say, you made this one-time payment, but I'm going to go and track your car.
No,
If
it's
your
not
car
one
was stolen,
time.
I'm going to go, exactly.
Yeah. So during that duration of the vehicle, when it's stolen, we do the recovery at no additional cost.
Yeah. Okay. And that was the next thing. What has it been like, again, being a woman in that industry, in tech and vehicle recovery and all those kind of things? Is there, what challenges does it come with, and what do you think you've learned from it as well?
Wow.
When people ask me that question, sometimes I feel like I need to go and Google something to find out, you know, I need to say something. But there's absolutely no challenge being the only female, being the youngest as well. You know, we have an association, so we basically relate. A lot of us relate. And I find that the men easily come to me whenever they also have issues, you know. So no challenges. No challenges. I enjoy it.
That must be an awesome community to be a part of, where everybody just accepts you and they're like, it's fine, this guy is big enough, you know.
When we need to do something, okay, let's ask Eno. You know.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh, I want to be a part of that community. Okay, but talking about, you know, constantly dealing with sort of like challenges and things that most people might be a bit scared about, and you know, having to overcome and conquer and forging ahead. You have an amazing story that's kind of different from, or separate from, you know, the career and all of that. You are a breast cancer survivor.
That's correct.
That is amazing.
I know.
It's a huge testimony.
I know.
Can you tell us about that?
Okay. In the course of my business, I think when we were 5 years, there was a need for me to expand to the third location. And that year was like a really perfect year. I turned 30 that year. I got recognized future awards. I got a license. Everything just generally ticked. And then I went into Port Harcourt to launch the new office. And that night I went to bed and my hand just went straight to the lump, and I just discovered the lump. And I knew something was wrong. I called my mom, being a retired nurse, and she said, no, you're okay, just overlook it. So I didn't do anything for like 7 months, and I continually felt as the lump grew bigger. I didn't do anything. And then I spoke to a surgeon who's like a family friend, and he says, if there's a lump, come in, let's take it out. So they took it out, and I thought, oh, finally, it's all over, you know. And then I got the bad news on a very early Wednesday morning, the 20th of March, that the result came out, and it was cancer, you know. So it was terrible. I mean, that's like the worst thing you can be told.
I just want to clarify. So you took the lump out, but then you got a report after.
Yes, you know when they take out lump from your body, they have to take it for histology to find out if it's cancerous or not.
It's not the entire thing, but they took it.
Yes, yeah, just the lump.
Yes,
yes, just the lump. Now, as a Christian, I've always been a Christian. I grew up, that's how we grew up. You know, you think everything is fine until something happens, you know. So at that point, I knew, I had a pastor who I was close to, and he says, it's in you. You have to open your mouth and speak to your body. So that was just exactly what I did. I bought a Bible. My mom teases me that I became born again when that thing happened. So I went and I got a 4-in-1 study Bible, and I would read and I would search out healing scriptures, and I'm speaking to my body whilst preparing for medical treatment. So I knew that I didn't want to stay here for treatment. So we made arrangement, went to the UK, and I was there for about a year. Had surgery, had chemotherapy, had radiotherapy, came back to Nigeria.
Wow. And in that year, did you think, was there any, because it just sounds like, you sound like such a faith person who's just like,
well, I built my faith. Friends would describe me as a woman of great faith. I built my faith. I had no other. At the beginning, yes, the first 2 weeks, I thought, I was scared, but I knew I wasn't going to die. But I was really, really scared. As at then, I didn't even know people survived cancer. So it was giving me an information, and really I should that's the end, you know. But I decided to hold on to God and hold on to everything He has written about me. And you know how they say, Jesus wears jalabia. The way I held on to him, that thing would have torn, you know. I held on to him. I decided to use my faith and trust him. In the course of the treatment, there were really, really down times, but there were also high times. For me, cancer made me a happy person. You know, because I realized that I was just going through life and then I had to start living life. I do things that make myself happy. I live like in the moment, you know. So cancer made me a happier person. And then I had family support. My family were exceptional, you know. So they went with me, they stayed with me all throughout the process. I never went to the hospital alone. You know, we just held on to God and we came out victorious just as he promised.
I think that statement gets me. You know, that cancer made me a happier person. It so speaks to that count all joy as you go through your various trials. Like, how is it that I'm getting this kind of painful news and you're watching it build you to the position that is actually teaching you how to find the joy in things. You said it was a hard thing to hear, but please, can you run us through, I guess, what was in your mind when you first found out?
My life everything was good. So I was like, am I just going to lose all of this? Is this the end, you know? It was fear. I wouldn't even eat. I couldn't eat the first 2 weeks. I wouldn't even be able to pray. I was still going to work. I was still doing my job. Nobody knew. You see, I went through this and nobody knew. I didn't share with anybody. It was just my immediate family. Because I did that because I didn't want the negative vibes, you know. So I went through it by myself. I was still going through work. I was a bit fearful. Then as I started to read the Bible, okay, the pastor will come to the house, you know, to see us. And sometimes when he's talking about God, the excitement, and I'm wondering, is this not the same Jesus that, why is he so excited like this, you know? So that's gingered me. I wanted to know God the way he knew God. So I read my Bible. I had all kinds of Bibles. I never read my Bible until this thing happened. You know, so now I read my Bible every day. You know, so that's where I got comfort. I decided to believe it, you know. If he says that I will not in any way fail you or leave you without support, you know. He says that I will walk through the fire, it will not burn me. I will walk through the water, it will not overwhelm me. So I held on to those things. I applied them. I decided to trust. I decided to believe everything that God has said. And that still takes me on even in my daily life till now.
So, my 2 questions. First of all, the specifics of the treatment. When you said you had surgery, what kind of surgery and what exactly was it?
I had a lumpectomy.
Okay.
Lumpectomy is taking out a portion of the breast, taking out the cancer. To take out, yes, the cancerous part of it, you know. So fortunately, I still have my breast. Okay. But I mean, I say to anyone, if you have to do a mastectomy to save your life, it's just breast. Take it out, you know. So I was just fortunate to still have mine. I also went through chemotherapy, 6 rounds of chemotherapy. I think chemotherapy is like the worst thing you can do to the human body, because I lost my hair. I was bald. I lost my nails, you know. I have hair, I have nails. My tongue was like this black. I wasn't able to walk. At some point, I didn't even think I would be able to walk. You know, it was terrible. It was the worst thing that could happen. But in all of it, I still held on to God. We were happy in all of it. We were happy. We were a mess. My family were such a mess, but we were all very happy. So what happens is we'll go for the treatment. The first 5 days, I'm very ill. The moment I'm fine, we'll go on maybe a boat cruise. We just made the best of the situation.
One of the very powerful things I've heard you say that again, because so much, you know, I think you're washing past the things that are so powerful and you don't realize it, because you said, I decided to believe. Because that thing where everyone thinks that faith is something that, you know, unless you're washed, like, it's that decision that, look, I'm going through this, but I've decided to trust God. I've decided that no matter what it is that's going on, as bad as this seems, because, you know, just saying that, for me, what makes it so powerful is for you to say, just express so quickly the levels of pain that you go through with chemotherapy and all the things that happen, and to be able to go through that and say, my God is still God, and I know that God will come me through this. And to stand here where you are, you know, it's one thing to say this after you're standing on the other side. It's another thing to be in the fire and say, I'm still trusting God.
It's easier to have faith for another person, or to have faith until something happens. There's something my pastor will say, faith is endangered in security and secure in the midst of, you know, everything is going on, you think you have faith. When something happens, you know, so I say they are Christians, there are very few faith-based Christians.
So in all of this, I mean, you are abroad for a year, taking treatment, or receiving treatment rather. What happened with the business?
The business ran. The business ran. God showed himself. The turnover of my business the year I was away was double the year that I was here. The business ran. I mean, when I was leaving, I had this 22-inch on desk jet, this computer on my table. I traveled with it. I went with my computer. I took one bag, you know. I went with my computer. When I'm fine, I'll get up and walk. Nobody in my office, nobody knew I was ill.
They just thought you traveled?
Yes, so I said I was going to school. So nobody knew I was ill. Work still went on. I attended to mails. I received calls. Everything was okay. Nobody knew. So the business still ran. The business ran. I had staff. In fact, I had a manager then who I had even left in, you know, the business in. I mean, she fumbled greatly. She and one of the installers were trying to set up their own business in my business while he was there. You know, but God, it does not fail. Can never fail. You know, so the business ran very well.
I mean,
now you're having goosebumps.
I've learned too much, because I feel like there's so many nuggets that you drop that are just that they're depths in faith, and going through different trials and being able to stand and say that, look, no matter what you go through, my God is able, no matter what it is. And for you to be able to say, I've gone through all of this, but while I was in that fire, it taught me more about God. It taught me about his capacity. It taught me about the fact that he can get you through anything. That is one of the things that for you to stand here today and be able to say all the things you're doing and the things that have gone well, and to say it is God, and it's because you started with God. So when the trial came, God was there. God is not just at the beginning or just at the end. He's also God in the middle.
Amazing. I don't know, I think you need to write a book about this.
Would you buy it?
I would
Because
definitely
people say write a book, I'm like,
no,
would you buy it?
I think I would definitely buy it, because I mean, there's only, I mean, I've also lived through somebody who had cancer, you know, unfortunately passed, but, you know, just for me, it's the process that, you know, differs, and the fact that you were able to see the normalcy of life through it, because people literally stop life when they have an illness like cancer, and then they tend to, everything about that, like their lives at that moment is cancer, and then after that they pick up life again. But you seem to kind of just say, this is just another thing. It's like waking up in the morning and going through traffic.
You know, there are people that I knew, like growing up, relations, friends, you know, that I knew that were rich, they fell ill, and then they became really poor. That's, I didn't want any of that, you know. And there's a scripture that says the thief comes to kill, to steal, to destroy. So I knew where this illness was coming from. And then it goes further to say, I've come that you will have life. That's my best part. And enjoy this life and have it in abundance. You know, so those were some of the things that kept me out. I would always say that I'll go through this treatment, I'll pay the money, because I was a private patient. I'll pay through all of it, and I will still come out strong, you know.
There's so much to learn from you, but also we've all learned the need and the importance of having vehicle tracking devices. Right. So if anybody wants to get in touch about your services, what's the best way for them to reach you?
You can send on Instagram at Retrack, RHEYTRAK. You can also give us a call, 0805-650-4364, and send an email to install@retrack.com.
All right, awesome. It's been so good having you. I feel like we've learned so much, and I'm sure that you have too. Please make sure you join us next week on Heart of the Matter. Be sure to realize that you can contact us, or you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at HOTMTV, and on YouTube at HOTM channel. Thank you, and God bless.
Bye, guys.